Welcome to BODHI Yoga Online. I'm Krista Cahill. Today we are going to do a 90 minutes vinyasa flow. This is Chris and he is going to help me demonstrate for you. So come to your yoga space. When you're ready, we're going to lie down on our back. Take any position that feels comfortable. You could do Supta Baddha Konasana, knees together, feet wide. Just a normal, straightforward Shavasana shape would also be really nice. So taking a few breaths, closing your eyes, and getting centered this morning. So if you feel any kind of tension in your body, just observe it. You don't need to know why it's there or how long it's been there. It just is important to be aware of our bodies and to make that little connection to what's going on and what you're feeling. And one of the most cathartic things that we can experience is a deep exhalation. So everybody take a big inhale and open your mouth when you're ready, let it go. Again, deep inhale, filling it up. Open your mouth. Last one like that. Biggest inhale you can, side ribs, back ribs, even a little into the chest. Let it all go when you're ready. Find a natural rhythm for your breathing from here on out. So you don't have to do any kind of fancy breathing, just a very nice, gentle, even-paced breath that allows you to exhale all the way to the end. For those of you who are a little more advanced, a little more tenured in your practice, and those of you who are not pregnant, you can even add a little pause at the end of the exhalation so you feel that little moment, that brief release of energy. It will help your body to appreciate and enjoy the experience of inhaling your next breath. Through the process of breathing, your nervous system is going to experience a shift. So we get into this phase where we start to recuperate our energy, where we start to rest deeply, energetically. This is how the body starts to reset and restore. So we can start this idea of letting go of all the tension that we don't need to have. We can create space. A couple more breaths here, just getting your body to relax and feel supported. Perhaps you want to mentally connect to your intention today. Maybe today you're offering or dedicating your practice to something outside of yourself, or maybe you need to focus on healing for yourself. Whatever your purpose for coming to the mat is, it is relevant. And then when you're ready, you're going to straighten out your legs if you had a variation. Take your arms over your head. Give your spine a nice stretch. And now we're going to hug the knees into the chest, and you can give yourself a little rock from side to side, taking notes, anything you might feel in terms of tension or soreness in your body. This information helps you to make decisions that are really clear about creating a pathway to healing and wellness. Bring your knees in close and then drop your knees over to the right side. We're going to do a simple spinal twist here. You can look straight up to the ceiling, or if your neck feels okay for that Parshva side dristi, you can look towards your left arm. Take your time breathing in the twist. So what you'll notice is your front abdomen will be blocked, and you'll have to create more opening in the lateral and posterior ribs. There are some days when you'll be able to breathe all the way up into that area between the shoulder blades, feeling those muscles releasing, relaxing. Finish whatever breath you're on, so you go fully to the end of the exhalation. And then on the inhale, come to center. And when you're ready, again on an exhalation, take your knees to the opposite side. So feel free to look up if your neck is sore or stiff today for some reason. If you choose to look to the side, you can turn your head and even close the eyes if you need a little bit more moment of introspection and inner gaze. You can let your gaze be soft if your eyes are open, and we do peripheral gazing. So we open up our eyesight, we open up our vision to see the wider view. One more breath, finishing out the fullness of the exhalation, going to the end. And then with an inhale, bring your knees to the center, and we're going to take a gentle happy baby. So you can bring the knees into your armpits, hold your feet or big toes, take a couple breaths here. The more we can move into the sides and even feeling here the back of your ribs pressing into the mat as you breathe, the deeper that relaxation response will become. So diaphragmatic breathing brings you into that state of relaxation. And then bringing your knees together, rocking forward and back this time. So now you're going to use momentum. Take as many of these as you want, and you're going to come all the way up and sit. Crossed leg of whatever kind of a cross leg variation you want. Half lotus, lotus, sukhasana. So you're going to take a few moments and just equal weight on your sitting bones. So notice if you have a tendency to go more to one side or the other. See if you can stay directly in the center. And then you're going to take your hands on the mat in front of you. Manage the two sitting bones pointing straight down, and then start to slowly elongate your spine up and over your legs. Little by little, your arms will be able to walk further forward. And if you get to a place where you want to rest your head on something, you can always pull a chair over or use a block or a stack of blocks under your forehead. So what we're doing here is we're trying to awaken each and every little cellular tissue in our body. We're trying to connect neural pathways so that the energy and everything is congruent and working together harmoniously. This is not about creating or manufacturing tension. So you don't want the muscles, the skin to feel tight. Activation is definitely different than tension. Just see if you can feel the difference. And with your next inhale, begin to walk your hands in. You're going to come all the way up and change. Notice which leg you've crossed in front. Bring your hands in the front. See if you can regain your awareness to the foundation, which is your two sitting bones pointing straight down. And the more your lower abdominals become activated, the more the spine will be able to lift up and go forward over your legs. My teacher Mati used to always talk about, if you had like a little rubber ball between your legs, could you lift the center of your lowest abdomen up spherically over the ball and go forward? So we feel that this creates like an airbag cushion for the lumbar to lift up and to stretch over. Our lower back is susceptible to tension because of our mental state, because of our emotional state, also because of the things we do physically. So try to tune in to what's happening in that lower region of your back as you breathe. Notice if there's any tension near your forehead or jaw, shoulders. Relax that right now. And then with your next inhale, try to keep the relaxed feeling. Walk your hands in, bring your spine upright. And now we're going to extend the legs out in front. And we're going to take the feet into a bent knee position and hip distance, like bridge pose. And the hands are going to come behind you. Now choose to point the fingers away from you, to the sides, or towards your hips. This is a little baby Purvottanasana, just to counterpose the hip flexion. So when you're ready, bring your sacrum forward and up to the backs of the knees. And see if you can use the four corners of your feet as if you were learning how to stand on your feet here. So the base of the big toe presses, and it's equal to the outer heel. The base of the baby toe presses, equal to the inner heel. And where those two diagonal lines of energy cross, it's the front of your ankle. Can you push down with the shin bones into the front of the ankle and lift the hips just a little bit higher? Last breath in, that front of the heel is driving into the earth. And then release your hips all the way down. Bring your legs around to the side, come to tabletop position, hands and knees, and we're gonna do cat and cow. So one of the most challenging things you'll ever do in yoga. Simple, yet very, very difficult. So when we do cat and cow, you can have the toes tucked or the toes pointed away. Every day is a little different. But because we have so many energy centers starting in the feet, nadis, by opening the ankles and opening the feet and awakening the feet, we actually are going to help our hips and our lower back and our entire body to release tension that will make it easier for you to get into postures later on. So if you're pointing your toes, you want to press the tibia down. If you're curling your toes, you want to have all the toes evenly pressing. Once you have your hands organized, it's the same thing. You're pressing all the knuckles down, starting at the root of the thumb to the pinky. Drop and release all your fingers forward in one direction. Pull the palm of the hand back in the opposite direction. And feel that when you press the floor weight, your chest is going to lift up and fill in those two little gaps between your inner shoulder blades. See if you can keep your ribs this lifted into your body, and on your next exhalation, you're going to round at your lowest part of your lumbar spine, right above your sacrum, and then the last thing is you look towards your navel with your eyes to the Nabhi chakra. On the inhale, it starts with C1 vertebra between your ears, and you make a little sequence down your spine. The very last part of your body to lift is your sitting bones. As you exhale, you're going to round at L5, S1, all the way up until that first vertebra releases and your gaze drops back. Find your own rhythm. Whenever you're ready, you can take over, uniting your breaths with the movements. So put your whole focus and mind into your spine and into your breathing. Take any information that your body is offering you so that you can understand yourself more in this practice and in your life. Take one more full cycle, rounding and arching. You're going to take the toes into the tucked position if you're not already there. You're going to sit back on your heels into child's pose with your arms reaching forward. So take a couple moments and really extend the undercarriage of your arms. Think of your arms really starting from the sides of the ribs. It's just an imaginary tool that we use in yoga to help you understand that the arms are really an extension of your spine. So you use your hands to push your hips back, which gives your lumbar a little gentle stretch. And then we use the muscles or the activation of the postural part of the spine along the length of the spine to help create that space and that length that we need in order for the spine to stay healthy. Okay, 2 more breaths here. Notice if your toes are complaining a little bit. Just breathe into that. And using that idea of pressing the whole entire hand down, feel the chest lift up into that little spot between your inner shoulder blades. Keep that as you start to lift your knees up, pushing your hips back the whole time as you come into downward dog. Yeah. Separate your feet as wide as you need to and take a couple breaths here in down dog. So feel free to bend one knee and straighten one leg, usually in the morning or in the beginning of your practice. This is the most important thing, is just taking your time, being gentle with how you approach. Your mind is open to information, you're being thoughtful, you're being curious. Observe if you can spread your toes a little bit more. So again, those rivers of energy, the nadis, they start in the soles of our feet. We have a long way to go to get all the way to the opposite side of the body. So start that activation in the feet. See if you can bring that energy up the legs and into the hips, down your spine, through your arms, and even out past your fingertips. So the energy will just continue towards the front of the mat. Last breath in. Managing to push your hips back as you bend your knees, look forward, walk your feet gently. Extend your spine. You can bend the knees here if you need to, or bring your hands onto the tibia, and then exhale, drop all the way down. We're gonna do a couple of these, just lifting into Ardha Uttanasana, halfway up, inhale. Descend completely, bend the knees if necessary, exhale. One more time, inhale, elongate. Exhale, relax the neck, relax the crown of the head straight down. Take a couple extra breaths here. So in the Uttanasana position, it's imperative that we bring the rib cage completely flush, completely to touch the quadriceps. If there's a gap between your ribs and your thighs, you will at some point strain your back muscles. So do your very best to bend the knees and to take care of your spine. Last breath in. And then you're going to lift your hands to your side hips, bring your elbows in and come all the way, pressing your feet down to stand up. And you can organize your feet at the top of the mat. We're coming into Tadasana for at least 5 breaths. So every time you come to the top of your mat, it's an opportunity to reset your awareness. Start in your feet. Plug your mind, your attention into the soles of your feet. Create a wide base, especially at the toes. As much as you can, open up the toes, lengthen them forward. Again, cross diagonal energy from the base of the big toe into your outer heel. From the base of the baby toe into your inner heel. Wherever the front of your heel is, you want to bring the center of your pelvis over that point. So that if I was to ask you to lift your heels, even if it was a 1/2 millimeter, you would be able to do that. You're in a position that feels like you're ready to go. Once you have that feeling, bring that energy that's coming up through your feet, through your legs, so all 4 sides of the legs, the back of the knees, the front of the knees, the inner, the outer, lifting the thigh bones upwards so they stand upright in the center of your pelvis. Use that energy to feel the sides of your pelvis lifting up off the sides of your thighs. The sides of your spine lifting up off your pelvis. And even the ears being pushed up off of the spine. Last breath in. See how much energy you can get to go up and down. And now you're going to keep this length. Externally rotate your arms at the shoulders as much as you can. And on the inhale, make a big circle all the way up, arms overhead. As you exhale, bend the knees if necessary and fold into Uttanasana. When you're ready for an inhale, shift the hips, the spine forward. As you exhale, plant your hands. We're going to step for the first one into plank position. Take a big inhale in plank and downward dog direct as you exhale. So feel that your hips, sacrum, reaches back as you look forward, come again into plank position. Keep feeling that the hips, the heels are pushing back. And on an exhale, you're going to, with control, lower as slowly as you can down all the way onto the yoga mat. When you arrive on the yoga mat, you're going to release your toes behind you, press into your hands and come into baby bhujangasana. So it's like a little mini version of cobra. I want the legs to be the most active star of the show. Both thighs, both feet. Stretch all the toes back. As much as you can, feel your sacrum releasing energy back into your heels. Last breath in. The spine goes forward to create space. And please keep all that length in the spine as you bring your forehead back down. Curl your toes all the way under. Bring the shoulder blades way down your back and press the floor away as you come to plank position. Use the knees if that's too tough. And downward facing dog on the exhale. Separate your feet a little wider than your hips in down dog. Spread out through your toes and breathe. 1, 2. See if you can find that little mini pause at the end of the exhale. 3. 4. Last inhale, the hips stretch back, look forward. Exhale as you bend the knees, and it's an inhale where you travel, step or jump, Ardha. Exhale, descend on full Uttanasana. Externally rotate the arms as you come up. Use the whole breath. Exhale, resting arms at your side, Samastitihi. Inhale, external rotation, reach up. Exhale, all the breath out as your hands release down. Inhale, shift your hips, your spine forward. Exhale, jump or step back, chaturanga, or to the floor, you choose. Inhale, cobra or upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Take a few moments, breathe, see if you can get quiet in your mind by focusing on breathing, keeping your eyes steady. 1. 2. 3. Et voila. 4. Inhale, stretch the hips way back, bend the knees as you exhale. Jump or step as you inhale, Ardha, elongate. Exhale, descend on Uttanasana. Inhale, both arms all the way up. Use your arms as if it was lifting your spine. Exhale, Samastitihi, Tadasana. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands down, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha, prepare your body. Exhale, float without a sound, chaturanga, step or jump. Inhale, Urdhva or cobra. Exhale, Adho Mukha, 5 breaths. So when you breathe, if you can keep your eyes at one steady gazing point, that can be at your feet, or eventually you lift it to the Nabhi chakra, the navel marma. So the marmas are just where physical body energy meets consciousness. So we're bringing together that yoking. Last breath in, stretch your hips way back. Bend the knees as you exhale. When you inhale, travel, march, or jump. When you're ready to exhale, head down, Uttanasana. Open the arms and inhale. Try to use the whole breath. Exhale, release to Samastitihi. One more, Surya Namaskar A. Inhale. Exhale. Try to follow your breath. Inhale. Float it or step it. Exhale all the way to the end of the exhale. Maybe a pause. Then you inhale. We meet in down dog as you exhale. Spend a moment, organize your hands and feet, and then see if you can soften your eyes, your gaze at one point. So ideally, we take a peripheral gaze, which means we open our view. 2, 3, 4. On this last inhale, you stretch. When you exhale, you bend the knees, and it's an inhale when you transition, stepping or jumping forward. Exhale, crown of the head straight down. Externally rotate the arms, come up as you inhale. And we're going to take some time into Tadasana as you exhale. Release your arms at your sides, close your eyes. Take a few moments, organize your feet, compose your breathing. Imagine we put a little artificial kneecap on the back of your knee, pulling the backs of your thighs upright. Imagine we gave you another one on your inner knee, pulling your thighs, your top inner legs upright. Do the same thing for your outer knees. Pull from your outer ankle bones all the way up to your greater trochanters at the top of your outer thighs. See how much you can get your legs to go up, up, up. And as you do that, feel the muscles in your shoulders relax down. Last 2 breaths. You're going to inhale, externally rotate your arms, open your eyes, and reach up. Now stay in this elongated state. Begin to move the very tops of your thighs back. Start to bend your knees when you're ready. Lower your thighs parallel to the ground. And if you get parallel, in, and now bring your belly all the way down onto the thighs and exhale, release your head. Inhale, halfway up. Jump it or step back. You're going to transition through the vinyasa with your breathing. When we get to down dog, we're going to break rhythm with tradition and lift the right leg up, spin your hip open to stack, bend the knee. Okay, and give yourself a few moments if you want to circle the ankle around again. When we release the tension in the ankles, it opens up our body all the way through that first vertebra. So this is a very old school way of doing yoga, but it really does work. So you'll never get as flexible if you don't pay attention to your wrists, your neck, your ankles. One more breath here. Okay, and you're going to change sides directly. That way you can feel the difference between your right side and your left side. Open up your awareness. Maybe you start to work into your ankle. You can work the top ankle. You can also work the bottom ankle, however feels good in your body. And breathe. And then release to a regular downward facing dog position. Now imagine we glued your heels to the wall behind you. And you're going to reach your heels back as you come into plank. So there is this feeling of going in two directions in the center. Now you're going to bring your right knee down into tabletop position with your toes pointed. Okay. I want you to use the hands in such a way that it helps you when you push your hands, your entire chest draws upwards into that little vacancy between your inner shoulder blades. Now see if you can maintain that and start to lift the round part of your lower back right above your sacrum. And see if you can start to backwardly rotate your pelvis so much that the knee is just going to naturally start to slide forward and up into your right chest. See if you can get your sacrum to be at least as high as that part of your back between the shoulder blades. Last two. And now you're going to go to three-legged dog, keeping your arms straight. Reach the legs straight back on an inhale. And now step forward, foot to hands as you exhale. We're going to come up into crescent pose. So this is a balance pose. Take your time, bring your hands to your front knee or come straight up if you need to. So the back knee can be bent in the beginning. Do that in order to get that same feeling of the L5, S1 joint opening. So that juncture between low back and sacrum. Now, if you can maintain that space, start to lift the top of the thigh, like you had a kneecap on all four sides of that back leg. See if you can get the thigh to resist up against the pelvis, releasing down. Take a big inhale. Exhale back to plank position. Stay in plank position. Lower your left knee down. Point your left toes. So again, pay attention to what's happening in your two hands. Can you press the two hands evenly? Can you use that to lift the two sides of the chest up into that little space where your shoulder blades are? Then by using your abdominals to fill in the back of your body, you're going to start to feel that lower part of your back lifting and rounding. Can you do that so much that your left knee just floats into your chest without any effort? Last two. The forearms are drawing in and up as you go to three-legged dog. On an inhale, stretch back. As you exhale, place the foot forward, crescent. You use your hands on the knees if you need to for balance or come all the way up. You can challenge yourself by keeping the back leg straight the whole time or start with the knee bent. So you decide what gives you the opportunity to create the most amount of space in this place where the S1, L5 come together. Once you have a feeling of space, can you lift all four sides of that right leg into a straight position without losing that? Yeah, there you go. Take another big breath. Go up, up, up with all your energy. And as you exhale, come down into plank position. Take an inhale in plank. And now as slowly as you can, chaturanga, shoulder blades away from the ears, lifting your forearms out of your wrists. Up dog or cobra. As you inhale, the sacrum back away from the lumbar. Downward dog as you exhale. Separate your feet a little bit. So for those of you at home, if you feel like you reach a limit or your breathing is becoming erratic, you can always go into balasana, child's pose, and recompose yourself energetically. Okay? Otherwise, staying in down dog and working the length of your spine for 3, 2. Now think of stretching back as you inhale, bending the knees as you exhale, and when you inhale, it's a transition, jumping or stepping forward. Elongate. Exhale, release all the way down. Chair pose, the hips go back and down, maybe sitting bones to heels if your thighs are parallel, and you push the floor, stand. Exhale, arms down, Samastitihi Tadasana. External rotation, bend the knees, arms lift at the same time, Utkatasana. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. March it or jump it lightly, Chaturanga. Urdhva, inhale, or cobra is fine. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Just one breath, lift your right leg, inhale. Exhale, step forward, turn the back heel for warrior one, and inhale all the way up. Exhale all the way into plank or chaturanga, your choice. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, down dog. Take an inhale, lift your left leg, one breath. Exhale, step to warrior one. Turn the right heel, come all the way up, top of the breath. Exhale, hands down, chaturanga or plank position. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward dog. And again, separate your feet, press into your hands evenly, and breathe. So if you can release tension in your body, it's going to make you feel bouncy and light. And you can release tension when you exhale by slowly pushing all the breath out each time. Last two. Now look forward, bend the knees, exhale all the breath out, and when you're ready on an inhale, march or jump. Extend. Exhale, head down. Sit down into chair as deeply as you can. And stand. Exhale, the arms release to Samastitihi Tadasana. We're going to do one more like this. Chair pose as you inhale. Uttanasana as you exhale. Ardha, inhale. Float, exhale, all the breath completely out. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, lift the right leg up. Exhale, step forward, turn the back foot. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, vinyasa of your choice. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, warrior one, step forward. Inhale, spine lifts. Exhale, vinyasa. So you can go directly to down dog or child's pose or through chaturanga. Inhale. Exhale, keep breathing as you reach down dog, or if you need to rest at home, you take a little child's pose position. Calm your breath down, be precise. 2, 3, slow breathing. 4, last breath in. See if you can move the hips a little further back. Exhale all the breath out. Bend the knees, jump when you're ready. Inhale all the way forward in your spine. Exhale, crown of the head down. Chair pose, inhale. And Tadasana, exhale, Samastitihi. Relax, close your eyes for a few moments. So try to understand and feel what your body has experienced through just a very short warm-up. What is the quality of your breathing? Can you feel the frontal mind relax? Use your ability to feel to help you be guided through your practice and what you need. Use the earth, the stability of the earth, to help you feel grounding, connection. If your jaw feels tense or if your shoulders are feeling tense, relax that tension if it's possible. And use the postural muscles of your spine and the feet driving down into the earth to create a lightness, a bounciness that brings levity to your entire being. Last 2 breaths. Open your eyes, place your hands on your side hips, elbows are parallel. You're either gonna step or jump your feet a little bit apart, so about hip distance or maybe a little bit wider. Inhale, lift your spine way up as tall as you can. And on the exhale, you're gonna fold forward, grab your big toes, Padangusthasana. Very classical forward bend. Holding the big toes, inhale, elongate the spine. Feel free to bend the knees if you need to. And then as you exhale, release your abdomen down onto your quadriceps. If you have the luxury of bending your elbows, use that to help pull the inner shoulder blades apart. So that area of the upper back, especially where the neck and shoulders are closest together. Now manage your breathing. So the sides of the ribs, the posterior ribs are getting a little exercise. They rotate open as you inhale and they rotate back closed as you exhale. Feel how even the little tiny joints in your sacrum rotate slightly open as you inhale and slightly closed as you exhale. Even the little separations in your skull rotate open as you inhale, they close again as you exhale. One more breath. With your next inhale, elongate forward, prepare for Padahastasana, release your toes, slide your hands all the way underneath. Again, take an inhale, try to create a little bit of a forward stretch. As you exhale, release the crown of the head down. So in this position, what you can do is to feel just a little bit, not in a way that creates tension, but just a little bit, your inner shoulders slightly lift away from the release of your neck straight down. That little bit of up, down is going to create a lot of opportunity for you to traction and release tension. Last two. Try to exhale all the breath out to the end. Inhale as that first vertebra between your ears lifts you halfway up. Hands to your hips as you exhale all the breath out. Inhale as you come to the vertical position. Close your feet. Exhale, Samastitihi. Externally rotate your arms. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale all the breath out, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha. Exhale, march it or jump it back, Chaturanga, Vinyasa, or straight to down dog. Inhale. Exhale. Step the right foot to warrior one, turn your left heel flat, come all the way up. Okay, now you're going to straighten both legs here. So I want you to take this opportunity to feel how the weight on your feet lands. Make that big toe and inner heel equal to how much you're pressing into the baby toe outer heel. Can you lift the two sides of your legs up? So really you feel the thigh bones drawing up so evenly that they're in the center of your pelvis. Now against your legs pushing so much energy up, the sides of the hips start to go up, the sides of the spine go up. Even at the back of your rib cage, right above your lumbar, can you go up and then start to bend your front knee to 90 degrees? So you are thinking up even though you're bending your front leg. Now release your arms behind your back, interlace your fingers. Take a big inhale here. Connect with the back left heel as you go forward on the exhale. The spine can go to the inside of the right thigh. You could even walk your right foot out a little bit to the side if you wanted to. Okay, take your arms when you're ready a little bit up and then overhead as much as possible. Okay, breathe here. So when we push into that back heel, it gives the spine something to stretch away from. Think in two directions. Last breath in. Now exhale, both hands down to the ground. Turn onto your back toes and lower your back knee down. Of course, you can use a little padding there if you need to. Point your toes and inhale, reach your arms up. Now, you're going to take a hold of your opposite elbows here. Okay. Now, see if you can take the outer corners of your shoulder blades and rotate them around towards your chest. Super. Keeping all of that space in your upper back. Use the muscles along the spine. See if you can push up the upper back, and maybe you could start to bring the elbows a little bit back behind or in line with your ears. Reach your arms up, take a big inhale, maybe look up and touch if your triceps are straightening your elbows. Exhale, both hands down. Okay, now you're gonna come into, from here, a tabletop position. So just slide your right knee to join your left knee. Okay. Now, what we're gonna do is Ashtangasana. So this is called knees, chest, and chin. So the hips are gonna stay ideally moving back. And on the exhalation, you're just gonna plant your chest between your hands and your chin forward on the mat to stretch out the scalene muscles in the front of your throat. And you're gonna breathe here for 3, just in between your hands. So go forward a little bit with your chest. 2, and then like a little cobra, you're gonna slither your chest forward in between your hands and your hips all the way down onto the ground. Point your toes behind you. And now you're gonna come up onto your elbows. We're gonna do Sphinx pose. So Sphinx pose looks from the outside perspective like a very easy and relaxing posture, but yes, it's not. Similar to cat and cow, this is very difficult to do properly. So when you press the inner wrist, inner elbow down, it's not just that you're pressing down and you're also slightly isometrically pulling back. Use that to help you feel your frontal hip bones and your bottom front floating ribs magnetize together. So this is gonna help you to engage the multifidi, so these muscles that connect to the transverse process of your spine and help to separate the vertebra and create space for your little discs. Once you have your tummy really, really magnetized, then go against that with your spine. Not that you're lifting your chin, but you're bringing your ears back in line with your shoulders. And then each little vertebra, starting in your upper back, are starting to move into a little arch position, and you're not letting your lumbar do the arching. You're really working in the upper part of the back. Yeah, keep those hip bones magnetized to your front ribs. Last breath in. You should be sweating in this pose. And then as you exhale, you're gonna release all the way down, coming back into cobra. We're gonna press into child's pose from here. Take a couple breaths. So it is important for you to feel your body relax. We only create stimulus in the body. We're not creating tension. So when we create heat, it's not because we're trying to make the muscles or the skin tight. We're just trying to create a pathway of release for toxins and for other things that need to release with the heat. So every opportunity you have, see if you can scan the body, relax the physical tension. It really will not help you progress. Last 2 breaths here. And you're gonna reach your arms all the way forward here in child's pose. Take a moment to lift your hips, curl your toes under. Okay. Keep the underside of your arms lifted as best as you can. Move your hips back as you lift your knees, and slowly as your hips move back, you're gonna come up into downward facing dog. On the next exhalation, place your left foot forward for warrior 1. Turn the right heel at a 45 degrees angle and come all the way up. And now you're gonna stay in this position, but you're gonna straighten your legs for a few moments. So I want you to observe your feet. Almost all of us will have the tendency of rolling to the outside edge of that front foot. And you want your inner heel to be glued to the ground because that's what your inner leg has to lift up away from. Get that thigh bone centered in the center of your hip socket and use that so we really will feel when your legs activate. The sides of your pelvis pulling up. It's like Matsu used to say, you have wet thighs and you're pulling your tight jeans up over your hips. And keep all of that up as you bend the knee so you trick yourself to go up with your spine, with your side pelvis, with your arms. Everything is creating space. Keep that as you lower your arms behind your back so the spine stays tall. Cross your fingers. Inhale, press into your right heel as you come forward on the exhalation. So when we do forward bends, it's a forward energy, not just rounding and collapsing down. Lift your shoulders, arms as much as you can to the ceiling, and then bring the arms overhead. Couple breaths here. So notice how the activity of your feet directly relates to how the femurs are going to be set up in your hips. Last 2. And release your hands completely down. Turn over onto your back toes, lower the knee down, pad your knee if necessary, and come up into Anjaneyasana, the little mini lunge when you're ready. If you can remember, clasp your other elbow in the front, hold your arms. Rotate the outer corners of your shoulder blades around towards the center of your chest and see if you can feel how now the inner corners of your shoulder blades press onto your upper back. Your shoulders are on your back, they're not on your neck. See if you can use all of that space to activate the postural muscles of the spine. Use that to push the arms higher, maybe even a little bit back. Good, now take your arms up. If you can keep your elbows straight, you're welcome to place the hands together. Exhale, release your hands down. We're coming into tabletop position. Good. Okay, so when we do tabletop position, the sacrum is releasing away from the lower back. But the upper back in Ashtangasana is engaging as if we were doing scorpion. So keep the back bend out of your lower back, activate the back bend in your upper back, and bring your chest all the way down in between your thumbs. Yes, very good. Bring your chin forward so we get that little bit of flexibility in the neck happening. And then when you're ready, release down, slither into a cobra shape. Okay. So now we're going to come back into Sphinx position where we get to sweat a little bit. Think of this as being, you know, like your vitamins, right? This is like eating a very delicious beet. So press into your inner elbows, press into your inner elbows as much as you can. You're keeping that press down as you pull, as you traction. This is going to wake up your abdominal core. As your abdominal core creates like a little airbag for your lumbar, then you're going to ask the upper back to work. So it's not about looking up and lifting your chin. It's about moving your ears back in line with the shoulders and feeling those muscles of your upper back work against what's happening in your tummy. Last breath in. Exhale, release your forehead down. Bring your hands back like cobra and child's pose. So we take a little counter posture after that. So now the upper back gets to do exactly what it wants to do. It gets to do like a little rounded shape. It's the easiest shape for the upper back to be able to be in. So now you can relax whatever we brought to the surface in that Sphinx pose. Let it go out through your body here, through your breathing. The breathing is going to be really effective if you just maintain it and you don't stop and hold it when things get intense. When you're ready, stretch the arms forward, extended, activated child's pose. Curl your toes all the way under. Think all the way back as far as you can as you come up. So the hips are reaching towards the back of your yoga mat. Separating your feet a little bit and take a couple breaths here. Feel what you've done so far in your practice. And see if you can get a little bit more backward stretch with your sitting bones. Look to the front of the mat, bend your knees, and whenever you inhale, march, float, step your feet. Exhale, crown of the head straight down. Now, we're going to do a little version of chair pose with the feet separated. So open up your feet a little wider than your hips distance apart. Now, we're going to do something that we don't normally do. We're going to turn the feet out like a ballerina so the toes are pointing out to the side. Okay? And you're going to come with your hips moving back and down into chair pose like this, and you're going to reach your arms forward, keeping your torso between your thighs. So when we do anything with the feet turned out, that's why we have like ballerinas have a really nice little tush, because it's going to work those outer hamstrings. It's going to work that gluteus medius. The firming of the hips in is what gives us the feeling of the frontal hip bones being magnetized towards those bottom ribs. There it is. Now work your upper back. Yes, and don't lose this at the same time. Last two. Hands to the ground. Slowly do a forward fold with your feet turned out. See how it changes things. So it is much easier to firm the outside part of your pelvis when your feet turn out. And that's really what gives you that initial feeling of the frontal hip bones being magnetized towards your bottom front ribs. See if you can maintain that and now bring your feet parallel. Okay, and we're going to do again, chair pose. Move your hips back down, keep your body between your thighs and reach the arms forward. If it's too much forward, just reach your arms back by your hips. Yes. So see if you can feel how much the outside of the leg hip supports you. That little tiny lift of your frontal hip bones to your bottom ribs, but now create length in your spine. Last two. It's easier to move from the ribs, harder to move from the spine. Last breath in. Again, fold all the breath out, complete exhalation. Heel toe your feet back together or as close together as you do when you practice Tadasana. Inhale, open your arms, Urdhva Hastasana, reach all the way up, and Tadasana as you exhale, Samastitihi. Very good. You're gonna bend your knees, jump out your feet 70 centimeters to the right side, and have your feet now parallel. Yeah, good. Bring your hands onto your hips. Take an inhalation. Exhale, fold forward. You're gonna reach out and hold your big toes. Prasarita Padottanasana, D position. Take an inhale. See if you can feel, again, the back of your legs lifting up, the inner triangle of your legs lifting up, and keep that as you exhale, release crown of the head down. So when your feet are parallel, it might be harder for you to feel the outside part of your ankles lifting, the outside part of your knee lifting, the outside part of your hips lifting up. Do your best to keep the legs going up, and then see if you can find that feeling of the frontal hip bones being very slightly magnetized to your bottom ribs, and at the same time you lengthen your spine with gravity. Last two. Last one. Inhale, look up, and now bring your hands onto the floor between your feet, about shoulders distance apart, and you can straighten your elbows like plank position. You can walk your hands a little more towards the edge of the mat. Yeah, there you go. And now you're gonna keep your feet parallel, and this is gonna feel weird in your body, so just do your best to manage it. You're gonna bend your right knee as much as you can, keeping your left leg straight. See how low you can go for a couple breaths. Straight arms though. So the frontal hip bones are not gonna sag down to the ground. They're gonna be, oh yes, there we go. And then you create that little upper back engagement. Last two, good, good, very nice. Straight legs as you inhale, slowly to the second side. So ideally, what you're feeling is that your core body maintains all of that support, and then you work the upper spine to support the weight of your head so you're not using your neck muscles. Last two. And one. Come to the center, bring your hands to your hips, press your feet evenly as your spine comes up to the vertical position. So now you're gonna keep your feet, your toes as they are, and you're gonna turn your heels in again like a ballerina. Good. So notice how it's gonna be a little bit easier now for your frontal hip bones to come up towards the bottom front floaty ribs. Okay, do your best with that. Take your arms out to the side parallel. Feel your inner shoulder blades push apart so the arms are actually moving wider. Rotate externally. And now with a big inhale, circle your arms over your head. Okay, you're gonna go think up with the front of your pelvis, with your spine, and then sit down, bending both knees like a plie. Yes, very good. And see if now, can you challenge the tightness of your inner legs by keeping your frontal hip bones lifted up towards your base bottom ribs. Take a big inhale, and now you're gonna bend to the right and bring your right elbow to your right thigh, and you're gonna reach your left arm like Parshva overhead. Use your right elbow to just gently encourage the knee not to fall too much to the inside, but your little frontal hip bones need to be quite active. Now turn your belly, sternum, chest towards the ceiling. Last two. Inhale, both arms up, spine vertical, left side direct. Exhale, elbow down. Right arm is doing Utthita Parshva Konasana, so you're opening, the inner shoulder blade away from the spine. You feel that that left frontal hip bone is not going down to the floor, but it's slightly coming up. Then turn your belly, sternum, chest. Last two. Come into the center, one breath. Inhale. Straight legs, reach up, up, up. Frontal hip bones flying to the ceiling, and lower just your arms. Keep your spine that tall. Bring your feet into a parallel shape. Inhale, look up, elbows in. Exhale all the way down, hands to the floor. Prasarita Padottanasana, A position. Inhale, elongate first, halfway up. And as you exhale, you're gonna release all the way down. Now, if you're at home and you have the luxury of a block, you can take a block underneath the crown of your head. So it's kind of like doing a tripod headstand, but the block instead of the floor. So don't do headstand on a block, just, I don't think anybody would do that, but just in case. It's just the feeling of doing a headstand, for God's sakes. Bring your hands underneath your elbows to the best of your ability. And for those of you at home who are a little newer to yoga, this is the perfect opportunity for you to get good at chaturanga, keeping those inner upper arms pressing out as the outer arms are hugging in. So your elbows don't wobble from side to side. They're steady in the center over your wrist joints. Last two. Last one. You can bend the knees a little if you need to. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, hands on your hips. Stand into a vertical position. Open your arms, bend your knees, float to the front of the mat, Samastitihi. Very good. Take a moment, see if you can organize your feet. So when we jump, sometimes we don't always land with our heels lined up. So you might need to make sure your heels have that proper position. Inhale, externally rotate your arms, reach up. Exhale, all the breath out as you come down to the earth. Inhale, lift your body halfway. March it or float it back as you exhale. Inhale, Urdhva or Cobra. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Very good. Inhale, step your right foot forward between your hands. Come up again into crescent lunge. Okay. If this is too difficult, you can always put the back knee down. Now bring your hands to prayer position at your heart. You're going to come forward with your spine and twist your left elbow or your left shoulder on the outside of the knee. Stay with hands in prayer, or you can bring your left hand down outside the right foot. Some of you can take the right arm up. A few of you might even be inclined to bind. You can take the top arm around, the bottom arm under. See if you can feel your frontal hip bones being gently attracted to your bottom front ribs. In spite of that little loving engagement, can you engage the upper back? Move the ears in line with the shoulders so you're not curling forward. Last two. Last breath. And release, hands to the ground. You're going to bend your back knee to the floor. And I'm going to say, because we're going to do half Hanuman, you might want a little padding under your back knee, just to be extra gentle to yourself. If you can be extra gentle to yourself, imagine how gentle you're going to be to all the people in your lives and the animals around you. Bring your hands onto blocks if you need to, and then straighten your front leg, Ardha Hanuman, half Hanuman. So with these positions where the back leg is starting to be extended more and more away from the abdomen, it's going to give you more of a challenge for the hip bones not to anteriorly rotate forward. Because what will happen is if you can keep your hip bones slightly magnetized towards your bottom ribs and you can start to move the thigh back, you're going to come into a hip extension and you're going to get to stretch all those tissues of the psoas and upper quadricep. So when we do that a little bit more deeply, it gives you the ability to engage your lower back and your lower front simultaneously. So this becomes like a sandwiching situation. Imagine like when you squeeze something evenly from both sides, the energy has nowhere to go but up. Last three. The more you can go up, the more you'll start to be able to go forward when you do forward bends. Last breath in. And you're going to come up if you've bent forward. Bend your front knee so you're in that little low lunge position. Walk your hands up onto your front knee. And now again, I want you in this position to feel that yes, as much as the left leg is going into hip extension, we're not letting the pelvis go into that anterior or that forward rotation. Do your best to release the sacrum away from lumbar 5. And now with your left hand reaching back, maybe you'll be able to summon that left foot to your hand to give you a deeper and more intense quadricep stretch. Okay, if your hip bones are flying up towards your bottom front ribs energetically, maybe both hands can go back and hold the foot. If you have that, maybe you can start to bring your ears back in line with your shoulders. Eventually, one day, you're just going to reach your head back and set it on your toes, but don't be in a hurry to do all of these fancy things. Just take care of what's necessary here today and breathe for 3, for 2, and release. You're going to bring your hands flat onto the ground. Curl your back toes under, come into a plank. Use your abdominals to go as slowly as you can to the ground, completely descend. Good, and now come back onto your elbows again like we did Sphinx pose. Okay, so now we're gonna go into a half frog or Ardha Bikasana with the left leg. So we just stretched this quadricep. You're gonna hold the inside edge of the foot. To the best of your ability, you're bringing the heel forward towards you. Notice if you can keep that same integrity of the hip bones flying up to your bottom ribs. And then when you're ready, when your abdominals have a place of stability, can you test it by engaging your upper back, bringing your ears in line with your shoulders, last 3, 2, and 1. Release, come all the way down. So we're gonna go from here into forearm plank. So be willing to cross your fingers if you need a little bit of more stability for your shoulders. You can also use your knees on the ground if you need a little bit less. So what you're doing is you're pressing your elbows down and slightly pulling back. So you keep, yes, that little marriage of frontal hip bones to bottom front ribs. At the same time, can you lift the weight of your ears up? Yes, against gravity, pushing you down. Last 3, last 2. Look towards your toes, walk your feet in. Slowly, if you need to, bend your knees. See how high you can get your hips to go and resist so that the inner corners of your shoulder blades are pressing flat onto your upper back. See if you can walk your feet in, even if it's just a little bit more, and then resist your shoulders back one more time as you try to lift your heels a little higher. Last 2. And child's pose. Release. Point your toes, arms in a resting position. Let go of all the tension necessary to feel your body relax. You are supported. The earth is very abundantly supportive. Lean into her. When you're ready, downward facing dog, compose your breathing, come back into a nice elongated position with your spine. You're gonna lunge your left foot forward between your hands and you're coming up into crescent pose. Bring your hands to prayer at your heart. On an exhale, lean forward and twist. Open your arms if that was a variation you did on side 1, and a few of you maybe took the bind of the top arm internally rotating behind your back, the bottom right arm internally rotating underneath your left thigh. So in spite of the back leg doing hip extension, can you lift the frontal hip bones? Can you also uncurl the upper back spine? Last 2, very good. Last one, on an exhalation, you're gonna release your hands. Because we're gonna do the stretch, you're gonna bring your back knee maybe onto some padding, point your toes. Blocks are always a good idea. That way you don't have to strain to reach the floor. So when we have the opportunity to go slowly and create pelvic stability, what that will do is it will help you to understand how to mobilize your spine. So we first have to learn spinal elongation. After we really get the feeling of elongating the spine, then you start to go forward. And again, it's never about collapsing down, but it's about feeling how the abdominals, like imagine I put a big ball underneath your belly and you had to lift your abdominals up, 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 and spherically keep that as you go forward with your spine, as you work the spine. Last 2. One. As you're inhaling, come back up if you folded forward, and you're going to return with your front knee into the bent position. So we do this little mini Anjaneyasana. You can bring your hands onto your front knee. Okay, organize your pelvis here. Okay, if you feel you're able to maintain the stability, go ahead and reach with your right hand back. See if you can bring the right foot to your hand. Now notice if the front of your thigh has pulled the front of your pelvis down towards the floor. Use that same abdominal support that you did in Sphinx pose here. Then if you feel ready, you can with both hands hold the back foot. The frontal hip bones are flying energetically upward. Even the sides of your pelvis are flying energetically upwards, helping to boost the spine. As the ears start to go back, the front ribs resist towards those frontal hip bones, and you start to feel how eventually it's the spinal movement that brings your head to your back foot. Take another big breath in. And as you exhale, release. You can bring your hands flat onto the ground. Curl under your right toes, lift the right knee, and come into plank. So we use the abdominals here because we want to counter that little back bend. So as you go slowly down to the floor, take care that it's your belly lifting up, your hip bones flying up as you release all the way down. So you're going to come onto your elbows, and we're going to do the second half of Ardha Bekasana, the half frog. Bend your right knee, and with your right hand, hold the inner foot. Okay, and you're going to gently bring the foot forward. Okay, once you have that position, again, can you get that flying upwards feeling in your hips to connect with your bottom front floaty ribs? Then you're using the energy, the extension of your spine to help those abdominals stay and get stronger. Take another big breath in and exhale completely all the way down. Okay, so now you're gonna lie down, just take your arms back by your hips, turn your head to one side for a couple breaths. So here we're gonna go into a couple back bends on the belly. And turn your head the other way. Stretch the other side of your neck for a few moments and just breathe. See if you can prepare yourself mentally, maybe even in your mind. Envision what it's gonna be like to hold your feet and do the back bend. Okay, we're gonna start by bringing the forehead onto the ground. Now, try to not lift your pubic bone off the ground as you bend your knees, bringing your heels towards your hips. So that's going to require lots of hamstrings. Now, bring your feet close enough to your glutes that your hands can clasp the tops of your feet. Wrap your toes open around your pinky fingers. Keep your pubic bone on the ground and start to lift your thighs as high as you can. Once your thighs are up, work into that upper back, lifting C1 first. Once the cervical 1 vertebra is lifted, you're going to go down that sequence of the spine. And of course, it's easier to back bend in the lower back. Can we just isolate it into the upper back here for today? Last 3, 2, and release all the way down. Again, turn your head. Relax your body completely. Feel what you've done. So it's not about movement of the physical body. If we could sit still and move the energy of the body, it would be brilliant. But it's just really difficult in advance to do that. So you can turn your head the other way. We use the physical body to stimulate movement of energy. And again, those energies, so many of them start in the feet. But the 3 that we need to be the most concerned with is the Sushumna in the middle and the Ina and the Pingala. The male and the feminine energies. We're balancing, we're stimulating these energies to stay healthy and fluid. Bring your forehead onto the ground. We're going to do one more. Okay, so when you're ready, keeping your pubic bone on the ground, you're going to summon your heels to your hips. So you're using the upper part of your hamstrings a great deal. Then with your hands, you're going to clasp the tops of your feet right underneath your toe knuckles. You're spreading your toes and flexing them around your hands. Make the feet the star of the show. Again, remember, all the energy starts here. So when you're ready, press the pubic bone down, thighs up. Then you can start to lift that C1 vertebra. Notice how much easier it is to lift the head than the thighs. Just take note and breathe. The sacrum is always releasing back, so that means your hip bones are flying up. Then you work the upper back like crazy. Take another breath in. And exhale, release this time, forehead down, and you're gonna go directly to child's pose. Take a couple breaths. Back bends are stimulating and heating to the body. They produce adrenaline. Adrenaline makes our entire being very reactive. Child's pose is dopamine, it's cooling energy. It makes us reflective. So these two together are harmony, the male, the female, the ha, the tha. And when you're ready, you're going to stretch the arms forward, downward facing dog. And you're going to bring your right leg into pigeon pose when you're ready. Okay, now, for almost everyone, it's a super good idea to support the underneath hip of the front leg. And for a lot of us, the top part of the left thigh as well. So you can come forward when you're ready or stay upright if you're at home. Just let this be about releasing your body, releasing your awareness into your body. Get it out of the world, come into your own being for a few moments. How can we generate more kindness to ourselves? What can you do right now? What does a breath infused with loving kindness feel like in your body? And come up onto your hands, curl your left toes. And you can either step over the props or you can remove the props. And then when you're ready, come again, left side, single pigeon. So why is this pose nice? Because it just is. It just feels necessary to release deeply held tension in the bottom part of our spine and hips. So when we use props, it will give you even a more deep feeling of relaxation. Do you want me to move it back a little? See if you can wipe away all the instructions and just focus on breathing now. Release any vibrations of tension. Make space for positive vibrations to take over your body. Last few breaths. See if you can make these breaths the most conscious, filled with loving kindness you can. walk your hands in. Start to support your shoulders, curl your back toes under, and then when you're ready, lift yourself into downward facing dog. Okay, now you're gonna come to your knees and sit on your heels in Vajrasana. So we are going to take a Virasana, which means you're gonna sit with your buttocks on the mat between your heels. So you might need to put some props between your feet in order to make that happen. Cushions work really well, so do blocks. So if it's possible to train your little tiniest toes to not rebel and lift up. But can you train the little mini toes to lay and relax just like the other toes do? And then when you get to this place, sitting bones are releasing down, frontal hip bones flying up, maybe you reach a limit, but maybe some of you want to go a little deeper. And if you do, you walk your hands back behind you. You can turn your fingers away from you even if you want to. And then once you get a little bit in this diagonal with your spine, so this means that the hips are extending more, they're opening more. What you might need to do, especially if you're sitting on something, is to lift your pelvis up and to release again the sacrum away from the lower back and then to bring the hips back down. And then maybe that's going to enjoy a little bit more intensity. If you have like a big cushion or something you could release down onto with your shoulders, some of you are going to be able to come all the way onto the ground or to blocks. Supta Virasana. So the hero can be actively heroic, or he can be heroic even in a passive reclining way, he or she. It's the passive hero, the passive energy that's very interesting, because how can we sit back and create peace within ourselves? Even when we're vulnerable, even when we're open. No one will be able to give you peace. You have to do that on your own, for yourself. And here is probably the most challenging place for us to feel that little flying upwards of the frontal hip bones. Oh yeah. So we are passive except for in the abdominals. The abdominals are still protecting, still stabilizing the lumbar. Last 2 breaths. So if your head is resting on something, you can bring your hands interlaced underneath your neck and lift your head with the support of your arms, shoulders, and then use your abs to sit all the way up. You can use your elbows on your mat as well to come up. Okay, and then walk your hands forward, come to tabletop position, and feel what your knees are saying to you so you can listen to their energy here. And taking your legs very slowly back into an extended place, one at a time. And then downward facing dog. Okay, you're gonna either sit through from down dog, or you can just swing your legs around from a kneeling position and sit in Dandasana, seated staff position. So all the toes stretch upwards in the same direction. You're reaching the very top part of your heel, the part of your heel that's closest to your toes, forward. See if you can feel that you're activating the top part of your ankle. Push the feet away from you as if you were pushing a big, heavy box of books away from the front of your mat. Now, as the legs receive all of this information, it grounds you. So your 2 sitting bones become like the Tadasana feet underneath you. You press your sitting bones down and you draw the sides of your pelvis the front of your pelvis, the back of your pelvis, evenly up into your spine. Your spine is drawing evenly up into this ball and socket of your head. Last 2. Now you're going to take your arms all the way out and up, external rotation in the shoulders. Now you're going to reach forward. So you're not going to go down. You're just going to go as far forward as you can. And then when you can't go forward anymore, really honestly, hold your feet or belt, yoga towel, whatever it is. Take another inhale, see if you can go forward. And imagine I put that big rubber ball underneath your belly. You have to go up and over that spherical shape in order to release. Your feet are pressing forward. So if you're holding your feet with your hands, you're going to feel your legs pushing away from you. Can you draw your abdomen in the opposite direction, equal units of energy? So the more the legs, feet push forward, the more your belly goes back and up into that feeling of flying upwards, up and over. Last 3, good. 2. 1. Lift the vertebra between your ears first. And then as you exhale, you're going to release. We're going to take Janu Shirshasana, bringing the right knee all the way back at a 90 degrees angle. You can point the toes in towards your left inner thigh. Okay. And you're going to take your arms again up and over your head. So see if you can feel the right knee resisting back as you turn the right ribs forward, and on an exhalation start to go forward with that mini twist in your body. When you can't go forward anymore, hold your foot, your yoga towel, whatever it is. Again, imagine that big rubber ball between your inner legs, lifting your belly up and over it as you exhale, come forward. And that's a little bit of a rotation. So you're taking the right side of your navel and you're moving it towards the left thigh. And breathe. Is that okay? And keep your head in the center though. Yeah, that's it. 2 shoulders are relaxed so you're not manufacturing any unnecessary tensions there. Last 2. Lift the vertebra between your ears first. Come all the way up. And change sides direct. Bring the left knee back in line with your left hip. Try to keep your hips even though. Yeah, so it's just the leg that goes back, so that's the hard part. Oh yeah. Take your arms all the way up. Good. So even here, you can start already to have that little mini twist, and then go forward with that little bit of a feeling of a twist. Okay, when you can't go forward anymore, hold whatever it is that you have available. Okay, the left side of your navel turns towards the right side of your thigh, and you're going to fold over. Janu means knee in Sanskrit. Shirsha, head. So basically, it's bringing your head directly over your right knee. Inhale, lift the vertebra between your ears first. Exhale, and you can release the pose and lie down on your back whenever you're ready. Hug your knees in. Okay, you can take your right leg up to the ceiling. You can hook the big toe if your arms are super long, or just hold the back of your thigh. Okay, and then take your left leg, either foot on the floor or leg straight. Flexed foot if your leg is straight, and you are releasing the very top part of your left leg into the ground. And eventually even the back of the knee comes to the ground, the whole back part of your left leg presses into the ground. And this is a really good way to observe your psoas. So if the leg is up, even if it's a little bit, that means there is still a bit of tension that the hip flexor hasn't yet learned to completely release. So perhaps you're always in a state of slight forward anterior tilt in your pelvis because of that tension that's deep, deep inside. It's not something that you need to change immediately. It's just something that the knowledge of it gives you an opportunity to address it over time, gently, without force. Bend your right knee, hug it into your chest, and change legs. Either set your right foot flat on the ground or straighten your right leg. Take your left leg vertical. Either hold the big toe if your arms are super duper long and your legs are short. That's usually how that works. Or you could use a belt. And see if the top part of your right leg can learn to release. And once it goes all the way to the ground, that's how you know your psoas has reached a place of neutral. It's no longer holding tension inside your body. So the hip flexor is a fight or flight muscle. When it engages, it's because you're about to run or fight against something. And there's not always that circumstance in every moment, so learning to also do the opposite and release it is important for us, for the wholeness, the wellness of our lives. Now we're going to take both legs up. Again, you can hold your big toes, or you can just hold the backs of your thighs. Let the entire sacrum release onto the ground to the best of your ability without forcing it. Just very gently from the sitting bones to your very inner uppermost thigh. See if you can push your legs away from the floor, like they're shooting up. There you go. That's it. Once the leg lifts a little bit out of the hip socket, they will be able to rotate and come a little bit more over your chest. Breathe into your lower back. So the more the legs go past 90 degrees, the more your lower back starts to move into a round shape, a stretching. Try to keep your sacrum on the floor, though I know that that's difficult. One more breath. Let's drop back into happy baby pose. Grab your big toes or your feet like we did at the beginning. See if there is a little shift occurred in the last 90 minutes. Hug your knees. Drop your knees over to the right side in a gentle reclining twist like we did at the beginning. Stay as present as you can with your breath. I know at the end of the practice it's easy to kind of think about other things like what you're going to have for lunch. Because it's nice to leave the moment and to go to the next thing, discipline yourself to stay present for this cool down and even for the Shavasana. Inhale, come to the center, change your legs. So Shavasana and the cool down are really just teaching you what you're going to need later on when you start doing seated meditation practice. So just staying present even when there's nothing exciting happening. Bring yourself to the center. So set up for Shavasana, whatever you normally use, or maybe today you're feeling like you need extra supports for your body. You know, a pillow under the head so your chin is never going to really be higher than your forehead. There we go. Having a little something under the back of your thighs will actually teach your psoas that thing that releases the deep, deep held tension. So if you have a chronically tight psoas, propping your legs up a little bit each time you do Shavasana, you're going to be able to release some of that. Okay, and then find a place where you can be comfortable. Arms, legs, maybe closing the eyes if that's available to you. Let go as deep into the core being of yourself as you can, maybe even letting out an exhalation. Take a very long inhale, let it out when you're ready. Can wiggle fingers, toes, subtly waking. And place your feet up on your cushion or on the mat with the knees bent for a moment, so that stabilizes your lower back, and then you can stretch your arms and really go for a big reach with your spine. See if you can maintain all that length in your spine. Bring your knees towards your chest and use your hands to hold your knees. Stay as long as you'd like here. When you're ready, you're going to roll over to the fetal position. Again, take as many moments here as you need, especially if you have the luxury of extra time. And when you're ready, you're going to come up and do any crossed seated position with your legs. Sitting up nice and tall. Relaxing your shoulders, hands, Anjali Mudra. So the elbows are going to relax gently around the sides of your bottom floaty ribs. Gazing into your heart. Gratitude, one of the highest vibration practices. Gratitude for your practice. Bringing your chin parallel, open your eyes. Namaste.